Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far. So for today's video, I was super inspired to have a look through my makeup drawers and pull out products that I still use that are super old, that have been out for years or at least a couple of years and are still right up there with my favourites. I still absolutely love, that I still use and reach for all of the time, but maybe they don't get the airtime, maybe they don't get talked about that much anymore just because they are old, we've been there, we've seen it, we know about them, but they always get kind of forgotten and neglected as new stuff comes along. There's been a few things recently where I've reached for these products over the newer products that I talk about all the time on my channel, and I thought, you know what, people don't know about these. I don't talk about these anymore. People don't know that I still use and love these products. They haven't been on my channel for a long time. I need to pull them out, and I need to remind people that some of this stuff that's just in the bottom of our drawers is actually flipping amazing. So let's get started. So starting with the eyes, a palette that I've definitely neglected in the last year maybe is the Mothership 5. This was my first ever Mothership, I think actually my first ever Pat McGrath purchase, and it's an absolute favourite. I think it's gorgeous. It's definitely up there with my favourite Motherships. It's gorgeous, it's just beautiful. It's very, very wearable, it's very easy on the eye, it's very easy going as far as putting combinations together, and I definitely find that like a bit of this shade in the crease and this shade on the lid and you've got a very, very understated look, and then you can go all out glam with some of the special shades as well, so it is very versatile. I just think because it's the first one I picked up, I tend to forget about it and it doesn't get the use it deserves. I think recently I've just realised I've got no mirror. Problem. That's better. Got a mirror, I can see what I'm doing. So yeah, I'm just dipping into that matte brown and we're going to go all in the crease. I mean, this is definitely a palette that you can do an everyday and you can do an all-out glam, and it's just covers all bases really. It's a good investment of a palette really, because you could have this palette and never really need another one, which I think is a good way to go if you're trying to invest one time. You only want one of these very expensive luxury palettes. It's, I think, a good way to go to pick one up that you know you can get a lot of use out of and that you'll use every shade in here as well, and that's definitely the case for this one, although maybe not the red. I don't really use the red shimmer, to be honest, but you might. So yeah, all the talk recently has been about this new Mothership, what is it, 9? I think 9, right? Number 9 has come out, and a lot of people were very disappointed, not me, because it was literally my tones, my shades, my type of shades. Pinks and very wearable, very soft. A lot of people said it looked like Divine Rose 1 and 2 had a baby, and you know, that's a bad thing for a lot of people, but for me that's like my dream came true. You know, those are my babies, so it's almost like my love child, this palette. Definitely one that I am ecstatic to see, but I totally understand lots of people were disappointed, because I think a lot of people thought from the sneak peeks and things it was going to be some kind of a rainbow out there, very, very colourful pastels was what people were expecting. But I just think, you know, Pat is a little bit in the same way as Charlotte Tilbury. Lots of people complain that, you know, she brings out things that look the same, but I think now Pat has a very much developed aesthetic, and this is what her brand is, and this is what obviously she enjoys to do and what she enjoys to create, and the type of colours that she prefers and that she wants to represent her brand. So I don't know that we're necessarily going to see that type of palette from the brand. Obviously brands can react to what customers want, but ultimately they have their style and what they want to put out and their aesthetic and what represents them as a brand. You know, Charlotte Tilbury for me has always been like the bridal brand, and everything they do is very bridal and very your skin but better, very understated, very natural, romantic is kind of the vibe that Charlotte Tilbury gives me, and I don't think we necessarily should expect to see something completely different from the brand if they have a very, this is us, this is our aesthetic, this is what we do, because that's kind of what brands do really. Not a lot of brands who kind of do it all as far as colour stories. I think Natasha Denona is one who kind of gives the people whatever they want, but I think other brands kind of like to stick to their theme. So I was not mad, I was super excited, and I think from what I saw, people fell into two camps. People who don't have a lot of Pat McGrath, or maybe have never picked up a Pat McGrath palette. A lot of people were like, I've been waiting and waiting, and this is the one, like this is the one that's made me pull the trigger. And I think we also forget, a lot of us in the beauty community, lots of people don't own every Mothership already. Lots of people don't actually have Divine Rose 1 and 2 already, because it didn't really tickle their pickle enough to push them over the edge into spending that amount of money. And for a lot of people, this will be their first palette, and it's absolutely perfect for lots of those people. So yeah, I think it's a tough one, because I do understand the disappointment, and I do think sometimes the promotion can kind of lean one way, and then it kind of goes in a totally different direction, and then people feel a bit robbed because the expectation was one thing, and then the reality is not at all what people were expecting. So I do understand the disappointment, but it definitely wasn't disappointing for me, because I am very boring and I do stick to those type of tones. So having another palette that kind of ticked all my boxes and was absolutely up my street and my colours was definitely not disappointing. In fact, I was pleasantly surprised, because I was expecting, like lots of people, for this to be very colourful and not really my style, not really my thing, and then it was. So yeah, it's interesting. It was very divisive, this launch, but it definitely made me kind of look back at my Motherships and be like, what have I already got? What's kind of similar to this one? And it just made me think, I need to pick up Mothership 5 again. It's been too long. I'm using the Rose Gold shimmer. This is like my favourite shimmer in this palette. It's just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, it's one of my favourite pat shades all around, to be honest. Absolutely gorgeous. This sort of rose pink, rose gold shade, just so pretty. I love it. I like to pull this shadow quite high at the front of my eye, because I just feel like it kind of makes it pop and opens the eye and makes it look really wide. Definitely got a lot of use out of this palette, but I just feel like since I picked this one up, I've picked up like 5 other Motherships, and therefore it's very easy to neglect the original, the one that started it all, you know. Just going a little bit into the 2 deeper mattes to blend this a little. I don't want it to be too smoky, just want things to blend a bit better than I've managed so far. Blending is definitely not my specialty, just always in too much of a rush, to be honest. So one thing I always really like to do with these palettes is, once I've got that kind of colour story that I want to go for laid down, I like to go over the top of the shimmer with like the special shades, because they just add like this amazing pop. And I just kind of pat that all over, and it just really takes the bling to like another level. I'll always do my eyes first when I'm using Motherships, because you can get some fallout, because they are definitely some celestial glitter in there that can give you some fallout, and I don't really bother using damp brushes. But yeah, if you do your eyes first, it's not really going to be much of a problem, because you can just dust it away. Booful. So a foundation that I've definitely picked back up recently is the Pat McGrath foundation. Funnily enough, this isn't going to be although there are some other Pat McGrath products in here, it's not a whole try on of Pat McGrath, I promise. But I've had a couple of like events or occasions recently where I've been like, this is the foundation I need, and it just reminded me how gorgeous it is. One was a garden party on a very, very hot day, an evening garden birthday party. Hot day, hot evening in the garden, and but still quite a casual affair. And then I went for a really lovely dinner with my best friend, and again it was a very hot day still. It was an earlier dinner, so we were eating outside, and both of those occasions I was like, this is the foundation I need. It's got no flashback for photos later on in the evenings, and I know it's going to wear very well. It's not going to be too dewy, so it's not going to melt off my face. I didn't feel the need to set it. I know it matches me really well, although at the moment I am mixing shades because I'm in between summer and winter at the moment. So I'm mixing shade 14 and 18, 14 being my winter, 18 being my like summer shade, and this is kind of my in-between shade now. We just really haven't had much sun at all yet, so luckily I've although I have definitely picked up some colour on my arms and chest, I'm not needing to use like my full summer shades yet, which is nice. I guess also usually by this point we would have been on our holiday. We usually have a holiday in Portugal in the May, what is it, half term. In the May half term we usually go to Portugal as a family, to our villa there, so we haven't been able to do that yet. So yeah, I guess usually that kind of kick-starts my tan in the summer, because I just spend the entire time in the pool with the kids. So yeah, that's what happens. But yeah, this year we have been in the paddling pool a little bit already, been in the garden a little bit, but yeah, certainly not. Summer has not really started fully yet, so yeah, I'm hanging on. I'm able to use my winter foundations, which is nice, as it's much easier than when I have to start mixing and things like that. But this foundation, it's just super natural. It just is very lightweight, you know, on those really hot days I really didn't feel like putting any makeup on, and I could quite happily have just gone makeup free, but sometimes you just want a bit of a natural coverage and something that's really going to feel like nothing on the skin. And I was kind of torn between this one and the Dior, but I was like, do you know what, I haven't picked this one up for a little while, I haven't used it for a little while, and it just reminded me using it on those couple of evenings. It is really just such a beautifully natural foundation. I just love how versatile it is, how you can really build it up as much or as little as you want, where you want the coverage, and it's just very like natural understated skin. Okay, so I just did my concealer and set that with my usual, because I clearly have not used a single other concealer in the history of since I picked up my Pat McGrath powder and concealer, and another one will never be used again, so there's nothing I can really do about that. I'm just going to run some of this, the lighter matte, under my eye, as per the usual with my Rephr 26. By the way, this is in the concept store now, so it's as a single. You can get this one just by itself, which is great. This is like my standout brush from Rephr. It's just the perfect under eye brush. So the next product that I have forgotten about that got gazumped, that is actually a brilliant product, is the Pat McGrath original mascara, the Fetisheyes. I use the Dark Star all the time, and I use my Charlotte Tilbury, and now I'm loving the Bite Beauty, and this one has now like just been forgotten about, but it really shouldn't be, because it is an amazing mascara. I think it's just, again, because it's the one that came out first out of all of those, the one I picked up first, the one I've had the longest, it's easily forgotten. It's there, and how great it is. But it's a gorgeous mascara. Super, super black. It's a little more on the natural side than the Dark Star and the Bite Beauty. It's a completely different beast to the Charlotte Tilbury, but it is a gorgeous, dramatic, but quite separated mascara. I love this one. It's gorgeous. I just think some of the others just slightly pip it to the post in a couple of different ways, but definitely one that is still a favourite, that I still love and should be used more, let's be honest. So another product I barely ever, if ever, use on my channel these days, but I actually still love it, and I keep on reminding myself, you need to pick that up, you need to pick that up, and it's the Natasha Denona Tan Palette. This bronzer I've nearly hit pan on, and I'm actually going to add this into my project pan for the year, because I'm pretty sure I'll be hitting pan on this by the end of the year. I just think it's such a beautiful palette. Everything in here I like, even the cream highlight I like more than the vast majority of cream highlights, but the powder highlights, absolutely gorgeous. I love them. This is what started my love affair with the Glow Impact powder, which I thought we were never going to get as a single, and then we did, which is why I was so thrilled when Natasha released the Super Glow as a single, because, you know, sometimes you just don't want to keep reaching palettes, you just want a single, you know, so a single that you can love, especially when you're trying to recommend products. Like, I don't want to recommend, oh, my favourite highlighter is this one out of this £6, because that's just not very efficient money wise to have, you know, a favourite that's in a palette to recommend to people. It's a bit annoying, you know, and it's this specific shade out of all of these, so you have to buy the whole thing. It's nice to have a single, and so that's why I think I don't really use this one on camera as often. But again, just because, you know, it came out before all of my favourite bronzers, it came out before all of my favourite highlights, so again, you just forget to use it. But this is definitely one that I still use, still love, still think is amazing, and I actually feel very confident that I'll hit pan on this year, which is, you know, when you've got a YouTube channel and you're trying and buying new things all the time, hitting pan is pretty serious business. That's an impressive product. So I'm going to use this Glow Impact Powder as my highlight. I mean, this was like the highlight that made me fall in love with this formula, and it was just, did it for me. And then the Love Quad came along, and that had that same formula, and I think I even prefer that one, like just shade wise, it's better for my skin. This one needs a bit of working in because it is a bit light, but the formula was just like it for me. It was just the perfect amount of glow, but still pretty smooth and can be natural. I definitely put too much on this side, that's my bad. But yeah, this palette, it's just got a lot to offer and everything in there. And again, it's one of those palettes that you will use everything in here, whereas a lot of this type of cheek palette, this type of quad, even some of those from the other shades from Natasha Denona, you know, they have shades or formulas in there that I don't love. You know, the Love palette has that glow, that diamond powder that I don't really love. Pardon the pun. Whereas this one, it's a very usable palette and actually works beautifully on the eyes as well. I love this bronzer on the eyes, and a bit of this bronzer on in the crease, and then maybe these two on the lid, and you've got a very easy, beautiful, everyday, almost one and done. Yeah, still an absolute love. I think it's amazing, and it gets really neglected, and I'm just, oh, I'm close to hitting pan on that one. Very exciting. And for a blush that gets pretty neglected around here, that I almost completely forgot existed, and then I did my blush for life video, my 12 blushes for life, and so I went through my whole blush collection, swatching and all of that, and this one didn't quite make the cut, but it was probably 14th, I'm gonna say. And this is MAC's Naturally Flawless. You know, I spend a lot of my time looking for blushes that are very natural as far as the tone, because I like to do bright lips and I like to have some impact on the eyes. So then a lot of the time I want a blush, but I want one that's not going to fight with my lips or fight with my eye colour, one that's going to be very natural and neutral and understated, and this is it. And the fact that it's a matte as well means that I can go in really heavy with it, and it means that I can really not have to worry about texture either. I don't have to worry about, oh, you know, I've already got a really glowy foundation, I've already got a lot of highlight, I've got a glowy bronzer. This is just going to work with any. I do have to build it up a fair amount, but in not so much in winter, but in summer I do have to build it up. It is quite subtle, but that's why I love it. It's just so inoffensive and so easy, and it just kind of gives your skin a bit of a blush, a bit of colour to the cheeks, bit of life, bit of dimension, brings everything together, but without it fighting with anything, without adding a colour to the mix, without kind of giving you any problems or meaning that you can't use it because you used that bronzer, or you can't use it because you used that highlight or that foundation. It's just really, really easy going. And now for a lipstick that kind of is in the same family, it's MAC's Velvet Teddy. I mean, what a classic. As much nude lipsticks as I can ever buy, this is always going to be up there. I have so many MAC lipsticks that are just absolute staples still, and they've been around for years, and not the specific one. I don't mean this is like 10 years old, this lipstick, but this shade has been around for like a decade, longer, and yet still an absolute favourite, still never lets me down. Still goes with everything, and you just can't go wrong with Velvet Teddy. So there you have it. That is the finished makeup look today, with all products that I feel have been out for a long time, have been around. I've owned them for a long time, and they just get neglected, they get forgotten about, that they deserve to still have their moment to shine, because they all have stood the test of time. They're still amazing products, and I need to use them more, and we all need to use our makeup more instead of buying all loads of new stuff all the time. We have a lot of great makeup in our drawers, so please have a root through your drawers. Let me know what you find. Let me know what oldies but goodies you discover, and please let us know what products have just been out forever that you still absolutely rate and absolutely love, right up there with all of the new that comes along. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'd love to see you in the next one. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye.